Hello, good evening. Let me just adjust some of the stuff here, and then we can start. Okay. One more thing before we start. Okay, looks good. So welcome. Today we're gonna look at some editing with the help of AI chatbots, such as Gemini or ChatGPT. The idea for this came up from watching a couple of other photographers dig into those capabilities, looking into whether ChatGPT can help them edit their images, and see the links to their videos in the description. So I kind of played with it a little bit, and I want to dig into it a little bit more to see what is it good for, what is it not good for, and then kind of go from there. I'm planning a few follow-up videos to go into more details on the subject. So we'll start. I have selected several images that I want to kind of work with them. You can see them here. It's a combination of edited and unedited images. So I kind of want to look into that. We're gonna start with, so we're gonna start with just trying to get some initial general feedback and see, and maybe see if the chatbots can help with the with kind of refining the crop and stuff like that, or some ideas, more general suggestions how to improve composition and things like that. And then a little bit later, I'm also going to look into whether they can make good suggestions in terms of editing. Like, I'll try to see if it can help me kind of refine my existing edit. And then also I'm really curious to see whether it's what would happen if I gave it more or less a raw image with like very basic stuff like lens corrections, and see if it can do a good job in terms of editing. And I'm also curious whether it can how it will do using just Lightroom and versus Photoshop and things like that. We'll see if we can automate it, if it can create a preset that we can apply, or an action in Photoshop, and see how that goes. We'll see. I haven't tried that, so we'll see. Initially, I also want to kind of to compare ChatGPT to Gemini. I only have free versions, so ChatGPT is limited on how many images you can load. It's the more popular bot right now, but I kind of played with Gemini a little more. I use it for my YouTube videos, like kind of ideas how to build thumbnails and things like that. But we'll see how it goes in terms of analyzing photos. Okay, so let's start. let's kind of add one image here, and let's do this one there. It's an image from Arnold Arboretum, and we'll see how it reacts. So I kind of played a little bit with this, so I can. There are several prompts. The thing is you can actually ask the chatbot to suggest prompts, which is a little bit circular, but I did that, and one of the prompts is not bad in terms of kind of general questions. So let's see. So I am asking it to critique this photo as if you're a professional photographer and provide actionable feedback. And so the more detailed you are in your prompts, the better it is. We're gonna look later in a more, let's see if we can if we can ask it to kind of refine things after we get the initial feedback, and also later look at the editing suggestions. So let's see what it does. And while it's thinking, let's do the same thing with ChatGPT. I'm curious if the answer is going to be similar or not. Okay, so this is Gemini. Let's see. Overall impressions. This is a lovely close-up shot with beautiful light and subject matter. The water droplets are the wonderful element of freshness and detail, and the vibrant green of the leaves is very appealing. You're clearly paying attention to capturing a moment in nature. So it's kind of the generic overall impressions kind of tend to be generic from what I saw, and the bots generally lean into more positive things if the image is like reasonable. But let's see what are the more detailed things that it will give. Okay, strength. Excellent lighting. The soft natural light likely diffuse sunlight over overcast conditions is fantastic. It highlights the texture of the leaves and the sparkle of the water droplets without creating harsh shadows or blown out highlights. The slight backlighting on some of the leaves creates a nice glow. Okay, so it was overcast day, and it's kind of right, but it's, again, this is a little bit generic, but okay. It does give you some more details. Vibrant colors. The greens are rich and saturated, contributing to a sense of vitality and health in the foliage. Okay. Sharpness and details. The areas in focus are sharp, especially the water droplets, which really stand out. Okay. Yes. The dawn redwood or similar conifer leaves with the water droplets are inherently interesting and visually appealing, compelling subject. Okay. Good depth of field. The shallow depth of field effectively isolates the main subject, blurring the background and drawing the viewer's eye to the well-focused leaves. Okay. Areas for so it's kind of this what it thinks is the strength of the image. Let's see what it and let me put the image next to it so you can see actually. Okay, so let's see. Composition. Areas for improvement and actionable feedback. Composition. While the overall composition is pleasant, it feels a bit centered and lacks a clear focal point or dynamic flow. Okay. The branches, while interesting, don't strongly lead the eye through the frame. That is true. Actionable advice. Next time, try applying the rule of thirds. Imagine it. Okay, rule of thirds. Okay. Background, simplicity, and distractions. Feedback. The background is mostly out of focus, which is good, but there is still a slight variation in tones and possibly some faint shapes that could be distracting, pulling the eye away from the main subject. Okay, I understand what it's saying, although I think completely dark background here would not work as well, but that maybe. Okay. Action on device when shooting close-ups, try to simplify the background as much as possible. Look for solid dark or uniformly blurred areas, sometimes even a slight shift in camera angle or a small step in any direction can completely change the background from busy to beautiful clean. If possible, use a wider aperture, small f number, to create even more background blur. Yeah, maybe, although here I don't think, I can't remember what it was, but the problem is the depth of field. If you open up the aperture, it's gonna, in close-ups, you're gonna have issues with depth of field. I already have a lot of leaves out of focus, even kind of main ones, the ones that are closer to me, but yeah, you can definitely play with it depending on your scene, in the distance to your subject. But okay, this is kind of generic so far, but let's see. Honing the hero element. Feedback. There are many beautiful leaves and droplets, but the image doesn't have one single undeniable hero element that immediately grabs attention. Your eye wanders across several equally attractive areas. Okay, so it's possible, it's suggesting kind of crop, which I tried. We'll see. I'll upload the crop some image and we'll see what it says. Again, before you press the shutter, ask yourself what is the most important thing you want the viewers to see, then compose the shutter. Okay. Consider the story. Okay, the photo is beautiful, but what story is it telling? Is it about delicacy of nature, the freshness of rainwater, of rain shower, or the unique structure of dawn redwood? Think about the why behind your shot. It's about the morning dew. Perhaps a hint of light mist in the background could add to the atmosphere. If it's about the resilience of the plant, capturing a wider view of the branch might be more appropriate for this close-up. Emphasizing the fresh, vibrant drop details suggest a story of nature's beauty and new life. Consider what small elements like a tiny spider web with a droplet or a specific angle of light could further enhance the narrative. Okay. Cropping, minor adjustments. While good, a very slight crop might refine the composition. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Suggest a crop to enhance the image. I would recommend a slight crop that primarily comes in from the top and very minimal amount from the right side. Okay. Let's see. What does it do? It wants slight crop coming from the top and a little bit from the right. The problem is there is no real natural place where to end the crop from the top. I actually tried in the past cropping this way because I have this area that I really like, but there was no good way to crop it. Okay, let's cancel. Let's see, reasoning. Top crop. Cropping from the top would eliminate some of the darker, less defined background area that currently sits above the main cluster. This would help to keep your eyes focused more intently on the subject. Okay, I'm not sure I agree, but okay. Very slight trim on the right side could help shift the central cluster of leaves a little further to the left within the frame, potentially moving it closer to an intersection of the row of thirds. Okay, that's basically check. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if it can do it. Create a mock-up of a crop. Let's see what it suggests. I'm not sure I understand it actually. What did it crop? Okay, I think it might have come very little from the top. And then, okay, it actually came in from the bottom quite a bit. It's a more horizontal. I mean, I think this crop works. I'm not sure how much of an improvement compared to my image it is, but okay. Let's see. We have the crop that I created actually focusing on the this area. So let's see. How about this crop? Compare it to the original image and your proposed crop. Okay, so it kind of lists original image. This is a full uncropped version of the image, provides the most context with more surrounding foliage and background visible. The subject, Dawn Redwood, is central, but there's more breathing room around it. This crop, comparison to original. This crop has taken a significant amount of the top and a noticeable, let me put the crop to show this. And a noticeable amount of the bottom and left side with a small trim on the right. What? It removed a lot from the right. Okay, I guess maybe it thinks mirror image. Okay. Brings the viewer much closer to the main subject, making the leaves and water droplets more prominent. The background is significantly reduced, making it less distracting. The overall composition feels tighter and more intimate. Okay. Comparison to my previously proposed crop. My previous suggestion was to primarily coming from the top and a very minimal amount from the right side. The crop aligns with my suggestion to crop from the top, which effectively reduces the dark background and focuses the eye. However, this crop goes further by also cropping significantly from the bottom and left, creating a much tighter frame than what I had specifically described. My description was more about subtle refinement, where this crop is more assertive in its tightening. My proposal also mentioned shifting the main cluster slightly to the left by cropping from the right, which this crop also achieves to some extent by overall tightening. Okay. Critique of this crop. Strength. Enhanced focus. This crop undeniably brings the main subject into much vibrant dewy leaves, much sharper focus. The details of water droplets are even more emphasized. Reduced distractions. Okay. Increased intimacy. Almost if we were there. Stronger impact. The subject now feels more of the frame, giving it more visual weight and immediate impact. Considerations. Potential downside depending on the context. Loss of context. While it enhances the subject, it loses some of the surrounding natural context that was present in the original. Less breathing room. For some tastes, it might feel a little too tight, potentially losing the sense of branch extending outwards. Okay, makes sense. This crop is a very effective and strong crop. It successfully implements the idea of tightening the composition and reducing distraction, aligning with the spirit of my earlier feedback, even if it goes a bit further than my precise description. It creates a more impactful and focused image compared to the original, allowing the viewer to truly appreciate the intricate beauty of the leaves and water droplets. Okay, so what do I think? I think it overstates how this crop is a refinement of its proposed crop. It actually it does align with its suggestions general, but the mock-up of the crop that it created was not really even close. It was very minor crop on the original, kind of making it a more horizontal, more panoramic view. And this one is really going in kind of into the image. So, but okay, interesting. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say about these images. Let's go to the original image and let's see what ChatGPT has to say. This is a well-composed macro shot with a strong natural and tactile appeal. Here's a detailed professional critique, including strengths and areas for improvement. Strength, composition and framing. The diagonal orientation of the branch leads the eye through the frame in a dynamic way. The natural layering of needles adds a sense of depth, not really needles, but okay, adds a sense of depth and dimension. Lighting and exposure. The highlights on the water droplets are crisp and add sparkle, contributing to the image freshness. Exposure is well balanced, preserving both the shadows and the highlights without blowouts. Detail and sharpness. The focus is sharp and precisely placed on the central area of the branch, showing excellent texture and detail in the needles and droplets. The shallow depth of field effectively isolates the subject from the background, creating pleasing bokeh. Color and mood. The green hues are vibrant without being oversaturated. The rain droplets enhance the freshness and evoke the sense of calm and rejuvenation. Okay, so areas for improvement and actionable feedback. While the background is nicely blurred, it still contains slightly busy elements in the upper right and that could draw the viewer's eye. They keep talking about some of these like minor blurred areas. Okay. Use a slightly wide aperture, e.g. f2.8. No, 2.8 is way too open here. If I'm not mistaken, this was shot at f8 or f11 or something like that. Maybe f5.6. F2.8 from the distance that I was shooting and with the focal length I was shooting would leave very narrow depth of field, so shallow depth of field. So, okay. Subtly darken the background in post-processing to better isolate the subject. I did that a little bit, but you can probably do a little bit more. I actually like having a little bit in the background, so there is a sense that there is something there rather than just black, but okay, I guess. Depth of field. Some areas near the front edge of the branch are slightly soft. Consider focus stacking or using slightly narrow aperture. Okay, so this goes against the previous one, and if I remember correctly, this image was actually smaller aperture than 5.6. So it kind of depends on the on your distance from the subject, what lens you're using, and other stuff. So it's like. But yeah, you can, if there is no wind, you can consider focus stacking, but I actually like some of the leaves out of focus. You can probably do some of the stuff, but okay. Lighting enhancement. The lighting is natural but slightly flat. Action. Try using a subtly reflected or controlled fill light to add more dimensionality to the shadows and make the droplets pop even more. Interesting. Yeah, that's so if this is if you're doing if you're shooting in your studio or even in the field, you can use a reflector to kind of shape the light a little bit. This was shot fully natural light without any without any reflector or anything like that. I tried to bring some dimensionality by doing some dodging and burning when I edited the image, so to create some shadows, to create some dimensionality, but you can probably emphasize a little more if you really wanted to. Okay, color gradient and tonal contrast. Mid-tone contrast is slightly low. Action in post-processing increase contrast selectively in the mid-tones and adjust clarity on micro contrast to emphasize texture in the needles. Yeah, you can do that. Be careful when you're doing it. There are areas of out of focus. You don't want to create too much contrast in those. So you want to focus kind of on the areas that are sharp. Yeah, you can add a little bit of texture. I did actually add a bunch, but yeah. Composition. Cropping optional. The bottom left corner feels slightly empty compared to the rest of the frame. Action experiment with cropping from the bottom or left side to improve balance and focus attention on the central procedure. Summary. This is a strong image that effectively captures here. Okay. Interesting. So it suggests to provide me some Lightroom Photoshop adjustments. Let's see. Create a Lightroom classic preset with your suggested adjustments. Let's see if it can do it. Okay, so these are details. Is there a file as a preset? Okay, yeah, so it's give me the details, what it suggests to do. Okay, can kind of see what it does. Okay. Would you like it or yes? Yes, I would like a downloadable file. Let's see what it suggested. Okay, exposure, contrast, highlights, whites, blacks. Basically, okay, so all of these are basically, except for highlights and shadows. So contrast and whites and blacks, it increases the contrast in the image, and then highlights, it actually compresses the contrast. So it's interesting, makes it a little flatter. It adds a bunch of texture and clarity and dehaze, vibrance. Okay, let's see how it will look in the end. I have a feeling it's gonna look oversaturated, but we'll see. Tone curve, slight pull down highlights, lights push up slightly, darks pull down slightly, shadows smallly. So okay, so it wants to create a more to lower the very whites and to raise the shadows to gray a little bit, and then it wants to create a mid-tone contrast by raising the lights a little bit and lowering the darks a little bit. I'm interested how it will look like, because if you do all of these together, this might be a little bit too much. Okay, enhance HSL. So hue, it suggests making the greens more yellow. Okay. And then it wants to push the yellows towards the greens, so it wants to unify the colors a little bit more. I actually, when I was editing, I actually liked some of the color contrast, so it's not all green monotone, but we'll see what it gets. And then it wants to saturate the greens and to desaturate the yellows a little bit. Okay, makes wants to make the greens a little bit, and both greens and yellows brighter. Wow, okay, it wants to add sharpening, whole bunch of effects. Vignette, not sure I need it here. I already created a vignette when I did. Calibration. Okay, so where's my file? Download the file. Okay. Let's see, go to this is our image. Let's create copy. Create a virtual copy. Develop. So presets. Import preset. Let's see where's the downloads. So let's rename it. Rename ChatGPT. Okay. Interesting. It didn't do as much as I thought it would. Okay, so this one is gonna be, let's make it 3 stars. And mine is 4 stars. So let's compare. Okay. Interesting. It's not bad. It's actually not, didn't really do. I had some feeling that it would overdo it based on what it. So the bottom one is the ChatGPT one, but it actually did not bad job. I think maybe a little too contrasty in my view. But let's see if we can. Maybe if we go to develop and we have the ChatGPT preset and we maybe dial it down just a touch, so maybe 70. Not bad. It's not bad. Definitely added some dimensionality to the image because of increasing contrast. Yeah. Okay. Not bad. I mean, it's kind of a matter of taste a little bit. Do you like more contrasty image or a little bit softer in this case? But maybe something in between actually works. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's switch to this one. Let's see. What do you think about this crop? So notice that the ChatGPT suggested automatically suggested like Lightroom adjustments and stuff like that, and to create a preset. We'll do that in Gemini in a second. I'm quite curious what the suggestion is going to look like. Okay, this crop is a strong improvement over the original composition. Here's the detailed background. The crop eliminates visual clutter, isolating the most compelling part. The raindrops on the tips of the tree are sharply rendered and well positioned in the frame. There is excellent depth created by the shallow focus, the background, the diagonal flow. Needles lead the eye, the container color and tightening crop emphasize the texture of the needles and drops. The color contrast between the warm yellow-green tones and the dark background adds depth. Okay, suggestions for minor improvements. Consider applying slight vignette or darkening the lower left corner subtly. It feels a bit open and could draw the eye away from the focal point. Okay. Highlight control. A few highlights on the droplets could be slightly dialed back using a local adjustment brush or the highlight slider to preserve details in the background. Crop ratio. You could experiment with a 4:5 crop or square crop if you plan to share on social platforms like Instagram. It would further emphasize. Okay. Okay, let's do create a downloadable preset. For the refined crop based on your suggestions without additional cropping. Okay. Let's see and apply it and we'll see. Let's go to wild thinking. Let's create this. Create virtual copy. Let's do two virtual copies actually. Let's do this one 2 stars and this one 3 stars, so we know what is what. So the 2 stars, I'm gonna apply the original preset it gave me, and dial it back to about 70%. And then on the third one, we're gonna apply the preset it creates now. Okay, yeah. So we have the second one. Let's import it. That's the refined. Let's rename it that it's ChatGPT. Okay, so yeah, definitely a little too much. Let's dial this down also to about 70. Okay, so now we have so 4 stars is the original image of my original crop. 2 stars is gonna be the original suggested preset, and then the 3 stars is the new preset. Let's see. So I would say that the 2 presets that it provided are quite similar. I don't see a huge difference. Yeah, let me see. Let's go to my original image. Let's do just a tone curve, maybe. So basically to create more of contrast. And then I also want to darken the corner a little bit here, because I kind of agree with her, with the ChatGPT. And maybe on the other side as well. More like this. And then also actually want to bring out a little bit this area, because I think it's too much increasing contrast, just kind of darkened it too much. Okay, like that. Okay, so now let's compare the three. So again, 4 is kind of my, and the 2 and 3 stars is the suggested the presets that the ChatGPT suggested. Okay. Okay. I wouldn't say they're super different, but let me see if I can create something else here. Radio gradient. Like create subtle light maybe. Let's see if I select subject what it does. Okay. So so what I'm trying to do here is kind of like create a big more of a backlight situation. Actually, let's not, if I don't. Okay, so this is way too much, but let's see. I'm not sure I like it, but let's see. Okay. Let's turn the mask on and off. So this is without. Don't actually see much. Very subtle. Okay. So let's see. Let's create virtual copy, develop, and let's erase this mask. Last one. And let's compare. So this would be without the flag. And let's take the last one from the ChatGPT. Okay. Okay. Let's see if Gemini, what would Gemini do? Create a download the bull Lightroom classic preset for the edit of the original image based on your suggestions. Okay. So it can't. Okay. Okay, but it can, okay, it can't create the preset, but it can, it gives you an idea anyway. Okay. That's fine. Okay. Let's see. What other image do we want to work on? Okay. Okay, so far we've worked with an image that's that was already edited, and this is kind of refining the image. Now I want to it to start to finish. Let's see. And then let's do the same here. I think ChatGPT is limited, the free version is limited to something like 3 images, so this is probably gonna be the last one. The photo, this photo, okay, so this, let me open the photo so you can see what I'm talking about. So let me close these guys. So this is the edited image that I edited, and then this is the unedited image that I gave it. Okay. This photo captures a beautiful, mature tree in a verdant setting. There is a strong sense of natural beauty and tranquility. The leading branch extending across the frame is particularly interesting. Strengths: compelling subject, good depth, atmosphere, soft light suggests quiet, perhaps overcast day. Okay. Areas for improvement in dimension: lighting, flatness and dimension. Feedback: the lighting, while soft, appears a bit flat. There is a lack of significant highlights and shadows, which can make the scene feel less three-dimensional and less dynamic. The sky, it doesn't matter much. Composition. Okay. Let's go to the ChatGPT, since it can create. I'm curious to create preset and compare. This is beautiful serene woodland scene with strong compositional potential. Here's professional critique, followed by actionable suggestions for improving this image in post-processing and potential locations. Strong subject. The main tree is the foreground is visually compelling with its thick blah blah blah. Layer depth, soft light. Exposure and contrast. Issue. The image is slightly underexposed, especially in the shadows of the foreground tree and the trunk area. Fix. Okay. Yeah, okay. Color and tone. The image feels a little muted, like in vibrancy and greens. Okay. Local enhancement. Okay, so, okay. Local enhancement. Foreground tree, add a subtle radial filter or brush mask to enhance the texture and clarity on the bark. Okay. Consider cropping. Consider a slight crop from the left could reduce the visual competition from the second tree and emphasize the sprawling foreground tree. Okay. Okay. So suggested mood preset. If you're building a Lightroom preset based on this image, yes, create a preset. Let's see what it does. So it actually suggested a local adjustment, so I'm curious how that would work. Okay, let's download this. Create a more painterly preset. Create a preset for a more painterly look with any local adjustments that would be needed. Let's see if it can do that. In the meantime, let's go this one. So this one is unedited. Let's add the preset that it created. Let's see, it didn't really create any local adjustments. Okay, so largely looks like, yeah, made some very general adjustments. Did it change the tone curve, color mixer? Yeah, not a huge deal. Okay, let's see the other one. Painterly glow. Okay, let's create. So this one is going to be 1 star. That's the one that it's virtual, the one that it created. So this one we're gonna, second one we're gonna do the painterly look. Let's see, where is import painterly go? Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. It doesn't add any local adjustments, although I asked it to. I not exactly. I think it made it warmer and just more kind of less sharp. Not 100% sure. Less contrasty. Okay. Let's see if we can. Let's see if I still have. It will be okay. Me too. No, I don't think I have. I can apply anymore. Okay. Okay. Let's see if it can do in Photoshop. Create a Photoshop action to edit this image based on the painterly look. Let's see if it can do it. Okay, so we've reached the limitations. Okay, so how do I import actions? Actions. How do I? Oh, this is recording. One second. To import, open the actions window, click the flyout menu. load actions. Oh, here, load action. Okay. Downloads. Wait, what? Where did it go? SPC. Hmm. Okay, it probably doesn't see it. Give me a second. So let's go downloads. Start here. Why can't you see? Let's try again. Hmm. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not. I'm not sure. Why is it not? Let's go again. Anyway, okay. I think it's kind of good for today. I'll still play with it a little bit. We can work with Gemini in terms of suggestions. And then also it looks like it does a better job of refining your already edited image rather than editing from scratch. So I think okay, so it's a guide. Okay, it's not an actual action. Yeah, I think kind of it kind of does the general adjustments, and although it mentions some local adjustment, it doesn't actually do any local adjustments, doesn't do any masking. So I'm curious. Let's see. Create a Lightroom classic preset with masks to create a painterly look. Let's see if it manages to do it. So this is gonna be probably the last thing that we're gonna do today. I'm still gonna play with it, and then I'm gonna do a. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's done for today. We'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Well, thank you for joining. I hope you found this useful, and I will create an additional couple of videos, follow-up videos, to kind of look at this. Maybe play a little more. Next week there is not gonna be any live stream, so maybe a week after. Okay. Thank you very much, and have a great day.